Today we're taking a look at, well, what seem like pretty ordinary conversations, right? But we're going to dive deep beneath the surface. We want to uncover the really fascinating cultural stuff, the human dynamics that are all woven into them.
Yeah, it's often hidden in plain sight.
Exactly. So the mission today is basically to give you a shortcut to understanding those unwritten rules, the shared experiences that shape how we talk to each other every day. Some are familiar, some might be surprisingly unique.
Indeed. And our sources for this, they're just a collection of informal, everyday chats people had.
Right.
But what's easy to miss is how these sort of seemingly mundane dialogues are actually these rich tapestries. You've got cultural norms, personal habits, complex social cues all tangled up in there.
Okay.
We're aiming to pull back the curtain on some real aha moments, showing how even, tiny conversational choices can point to much bigger cultural pictures that often go unnoticed.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this. How about we start with something pretty universal, dining out.
Ah, yes. The eternal question of the bill.
Exactly. So imagine a group. They split a 45 bill. Okay, so 15 euro. Pretty straightforward. One person pays with a card. The others just send their share via PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our sources point out this common European thing. People often just split it evenly. No big fuss, no calculators out.
Right? It's about keeping it simple, keeping the vibe, chill, especially when it's just friends hanging out. And what's really insightful there, I think, is that it's not just about convenience. It often shows this preference for, maybe what you'd call more collectivist norms in those casual settings.
Okay.
Like group harmony and just making things run smoothly. That often matters more than getting the bill down to the exact cent each person owes.
Right, compared to maybe other places where fairness is calculated really precisely.
Exactly. That kind of casual split, it shows this underlying trust, this value placed on just having a frictionless interaction. It's efficient socially.
And that efficiency, that desire for things to be seamless, it's not just about money, is it? It pops up in other daily frustrations. Like, who hasn't had that sheer panic when your phone battery is dying?
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. You've got your iPhone. Maybe it needs that specific lightning cable. You're relying completely on Google Maps to find your way.
And suddenly, nothing. Black screen.
Total nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Then at that moment, you find a charger. It's like, oh, lifesaver. Absolute relief.
Mm-hmm.
Our source mentions this happening the third time in a week, and the lesson finally sinks in. Always carry a power bank.
And it's more than just inconvenient, isn't it? It reveals something interesting about modern cognitive load. Our phones, they've become these extensions of our brains almost.
Yeah, like external hard drives for planning and memory.
Exactly. They handle navigation, scheduling, reminders. When they fail, it's not just that you can't see the map. It's like you suddenly have to pull all that mental effort back inside your own head.
Right, it's jarring.
It really is. It can trigger this disproportionate stress response, almost like losing a temporary cognitive limb, if you like. It just shows how deeply integrated these tools are in how we actually think.
Speaking of things causing disproportionate stress when they fail, sometimes it's the simpler tech, like the coffee machine.
Ah, the heart of the morning routine.
Right. What happens when it breaks down? Again, our sources describe one machine. It's the third time this month it's packed in. They suspect the heating element.
Sounds plausible. So what's the fix?
The fix is adaptation. Head to the little cafe near the tram stop, the one with the yellow chairs outside.
Oh, I can picture it.
Apparently known for its strong Italian roast, and crucially, the best almond croissants.
Okay, see, beyond just finding caffeine, this speaks to our need for what you might call comfort anchors in our daily routines.
Comfort anchors, I like that.
When the main anchor, the home coffee machine, fails, the immediate search for a replacement, especially one with these really specific sensory details like Italian roast and almond croissants.
Yeah.
It highlights this subconscious drive we have for ritualistic satisfaction. It's about getting back that sense of normalcy, of control, often through these small sensory pleasures that make the day feel right again.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From broken machines to the more subtle stuff, the unwritten rules of social grace, especially around time and stress.
Punctuality and apologies. Always tricky.
Very. Our sources give us this really relatable scenario. Someone rushing in, I'm so sorry, I'm late. Why? Lost track of time working on a project.
Happens to the best of us, especially with the deadlines.
Totally. The context is finals are stressful, and how easily working on just a few slides can suddenly mean it's 7 p.m.
Oh yeah, that time warp is real.
The advice given in the chat is simple. Don't forget to take breaks. And the person who is late reflects, lesson learned. Next time, just send a quick message.
Right. And that exchange, it really shines a light on the sort of social contract around punctuality, which, interestingly, varies a lot depending on the culture. Well, in what anthropologists call high context cultures, which you find in parts of Europe, for example, a quick message like that might be totally fine. The relationship, the shared understanding, that's what's key.
Okay.
But in lower context settings, being strictly on time is often seen as like the primary way you show respect. It's much more rigid.
Wow.
So understanding this cultural view of time, is it flexible, is it rigid, that's really crucial for navigating different social situations without accidentally causing offense or damaging relationships.
Now, here's something that might seem odd to some listeners, but is very much a thing in parts of Europe. Physical comfort and fresh air.
Ah, you must be talking about airing out rooms.
Exactly, imagine. Stuffy room, heating's cranked up high. Maybe there's a fan, but it's not really doing much. What's the solution?
Open the window.
Yep, open a window, even if it's noisy outside, even in summer. Which leads us to this German concept, Lüften, airing out rooms.
It's a ritual for many.
People really believe in it, don't they? Even in the depths of winter, windows flung open for a bit because it keeps the air fresh and, weirdly, helps cool things down if it's overheated inside.
And what's fascinating is that Lüften isn't just about ventilation science. It's tied into a whole cultural value system.
Really? Like what?
Well, it's about health, freshness, this idea that stale air is bad for you, maybe even a subtle pushback against relying too much on artificial climate control like AC.
Ah, interesting.
In many German-speaking cultures, and others too, fresh air is just fundamentally seen as healthy and clean. It affects how buildings are designed, daily habits, even rules about when you should or shouldn't air out your flat. It's quite a contrast to cultures that maybe prioritize keeping everything sealed up year-round.
So we've seen these cultural norms shaping comfort, how we manage time. But what about when our own desires, like maybe wanting to travel or go to an event, clash with our responsibilities? Like, say, a big project deadline.
Ah, the eternal balancing act.
Totally. Our sources describe this exact thing. An invitation comes up. A cultural trip to Heidelberg next weekend. Sounds great, especially for someone who loves castles.
Heidelberg Castle is definitely worth seeing.
Right. It's apparently been on my bucket list.
Yeah.
But there's a group project due that Monday.
Oof, classic conflict.
So the negotiation starts. Can they maybe push really hard and wrap things up before Friday?
And this little exchange, it just perfectly captures that constant negotiation we all do, right? Between wanting spontaneity, wanting experiences, and having to meet our responsibilities, school, work, whatever. It's not just about scheduling. It's this intricate dance of aligning personal passions with commitments. Yeah. And the fact they're trying to find a way, like finishing the project early, it shows how much they value both the trip and the friendship or the group dynamic.
Okay, let's pivot now into more about everyday relationships, routines, the daily grind, starting with family, specifically helping out across generations with tech.
Oh, yes. The tech support calls to mom or dad.
Exactly. Our sources have this really sweet scenario. Yeah. Someone helping their mom use the Deutsche Bahn app, that's the German railway app, to book a train from Karlsruhe to Cologne.
A common journey. And potentially confusing app for a first-timer.
Right. So the conversation walks through the steps. Go to Foreplay, the timetable, enter Karlsruhe, then Cologne, look for a good train, maybe that 2 hours direct one, tap Zur Buchung, which means go to booking. And importantly, reserving a seat because, as they say, Fridays can be busy.
And this is just a lovely illustration of how intergenerational support is evolving, isn't it? Especially with everything being so digital now.
Yeah, it feels different from, say, just helping carry groceries.
It does. These practical acts of tech help, they're really more than just teaching app navigation. They become these moments of connection, of demonstrating care and patience. It's bridging that digital divide, but doing it through a personal relationship. It really strengthens the bond.
And speaking of showing care, sometimes it's really subtle, like offering a ride home. Our sources mention someone offering a lift after a film festival that ends pretty late.
Instead of them taking the night bus.
Exactly. And it's explicitly framed as being safer, especially because the other person admits they get nervous walking alone late at night.
That's really thoughtful. It's a great example of how care shows up in these everyday moments. It's not always about big, grand gestures. It's often about anticipating someone else's needs, their anxieties maybe, and just proactively offering a simple solution, often before you're even asked.
Yeah.
It prioritizes their safety, their well-being, and it just quietly reinforces the trust and the connection within that friendship or social group.
Okay, now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The playful, sometimes slightly chaotic banter that happens in close relationships, especially around mornings and work stress.
Ah, yes. The language of friendship and love often involves teasing.
Totally. We see the classic struggle to wake up. 5 more minutes. Why does work start so early? You know the drill.
Mm-hmm. Followed by the playful jabs.
Exactly. Someone suggests needing a new job. The other counters with maybe just try to sleep earlier. That line about being responsible adults, always said ironically.
Of course.
Then there's this mock medical emergency. Mike's heart is apparently missing its nurse, which leads to the brilliant self-aware comment, waking up and choosing cringe.
Ha! I love that. Captures it perfectly.
Then later, a work scenario. Someone shows up fashionably delayed, about 15 minutes late for something important, only to realize they completely forgot to prepare their part of the meeting or presentation.
Oh no, potential disaster.
Big time disaster. But for their friend, it instantly becomes entertainment.
Yeah.
But then the friend saves the day last minute with, "my notes," which leads to that perfect summary of their dynamic, "I love you, I hate you."
And in this whole sequence, it's just a masterclass in how humor and affection work in strong relationships, especially under pressure. Friends, partners, they act as these really vital emotional support systems. They use teasing, they share vulnerability, they offer practical help like the notes to navigate tough moments. That cringe talk, the hate-love dynamic, it's not real negativity.
Right.
It's actually a form of intimate communication. It shows deep comfort, acceptance. It actually reinforces their bond because they can be completely themselves, mess-ups and all, with each other.
All right, let's move on to the fine art of making shared decisions, especially around food, which, let's be honest, can be a total minefield.
Oh, absolutely. So many opinions, so little time for lunch.
Exactly. So picture the lunch debate. Someone suggests Japanese. Immediate veto. Apparently the last time meant an emergency room visit. Food poisoning. Yikes.
Okay, fair enough, veto then.
Right. So the focus shifts to cheap options because inflation is hitting budgets. The Italian place across the street seems like the winner, even though they only have 57 minutes for lunch.
Getting it fine.
Then there's the group dynamic. One person apparently always ends up picking. Why? Because she's picky. Or, as she puts it, I have taste.
Ah, the eternal debate. Picky versus discerning.
And then we get the classic critique of someone else's preferred lunch.
Yeah.
Plain turkey sandwiches. Dismissed as boring and extremely sad.
Ouch. Harsh words for a sandwich.
But this whole conversation, it just perfectly captures that constant negotiation, the compromise that happens anytime a group has to choose something, especially something as personal as food. It shows how individual preferences, whether it's a strong opinion about cuisine or, a deep love for boring turkey sandwiches, reflect our identity, maybe our dietary needs, maybe even just a subtle power play within the group.
It really is a microcosm of how groups balance individual wants against needing to make a collective decision.
And evening plans can be just as varied and just as ripe for playful teasing.
What are the options on the table?
Well, there's gaming, but that gets called repetitive. There's watching people cook shows, or maybe hitting up a fancy new rooftop bar. Though clarified. Alone. Definitely not a date night.
Okay, good to know.
Then, huge excitement from someone else because Lord of the Rings reruns are on TV. They're a big fan. Apparently willing to ditch coworkers to watch with a friend, even though it could be up to 9 hours of viewing.
That's dedication, true fandom.
And then, of course, the inevitable teasing about Mike's plans. What's he doing tonight? Oh, just hanging out with Jake. Prompting the question, is Jake his roommate? Former roommate? Or maybe his boyfriend? The ambiguity is part of the fun.
Right. So what does this all tell us? It clearly shows how our free time activities reflect our personal interests, our passions, but also how they get shaped by our social circles, who we choose to spend time with. And that teasing, like about Mike and Jake, it's not just random jokes. It's a way of social bonding. It creates this sort of in-group feeling, reinforces the relationships they already have. It shows a level of comfort where they can gently rib each other about their personal lives.
Okay, finally, let's dive into the wonderful complexities of home cooking. And who does what? The division of labor.
Always a fun topic in any household.
Isn't it just? The dinner debate itself is a journey. Someone suggests cheese? Just cheese. That gets shot down.
Probably wise.
Then options fly. Burger, pasta, lasagna versus someone pushing for healthier and easier salmon and salad.
The eternal battle. Comfort food versus healthy choice.
And then remember the turkey sandwich critique. Well, the turkey sandwich fan comes back with, I take pride in my turkey sandwiches.
Defending the sandwich's honor. Good for them.
Then someone offers to cook.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a condition. Are you cleaning up first?
The negotiation begins.
Exactly. The dynamic shifts between one person planning to just supervise, while the other complains they'll end up doing all the work. There's even a reference to Master Chef, immediately contrasted by recalling past cooking attempts that apparently resulted in someone being stuck in the bathroom for an hour.
Oh dear. So maybe the supervision role isn't entirely unjustified.
Perhaps not.
Yeah.
But this whole back and forth, it really digs into those subtle negotiations around chores, around domestic work within a relationship or household.
Mm-hmm. It's not just about who's cooking tonight. It's layered with shared history, expectations, the level of trust, or maybe lack of trust based on those past experiences, like the bathroom incident.
Right.
And the humor, the playful jabs, that's often how couples or housemates navigate these potential conflict points. It turns what could be an argument about chores into, well, part of their established dynamic, reinforcing it in a way.
Okay, let's round off this deep dive by shifting to the warmth of seasonal celebrations, family traditions, starting with something really simple,
Right.
breakfast. Imagine pancakes, maple syrup, obviously. But because it's December, someone adds just a pinch of cinnamon. Why? To make it more festive.
Ah, lovely. And that little detail, that pinch of cinnamon, it's a perfect example of how small intentional acts can elevate a routine into a ritual.
Yeah.
It weaves a bit of magic into everyday life, doesn't it? Creates a sense of occasion. That cinnamon isn't just a flavor, it's like a sensory cue, connecting that simple breakfast to the whole festive season. It helps build memories, adds joy to something mundane.
In that spirit of the season, it often includes thinking about others. Our sources mention Emma, who got inspired by her teacher talking about giving back.
Oh, that's nice. What's her idea?
She wants to volunteer somewhere. The plan is to help out at the local community center. They're having a food drive, and Emma and her family are going to donate some of their famous cookies, too.
That's wonderful. And what's fascinating there, I think, is how it reflects that strong impulse many people feel toward altruism, especially around the holidays.
Right. It feels like a time for generosity.
Exactly. It's a tangible way to engage with the community, showing that the season isn't just about receiving gifts, but also about actively contributing to the well-being of others. It fosters that collective spirit.
Now let's talk about some classic winter sights and traditions, like decorations, reindeer on the roof, and lights everywhere, described as both magical and maybe a little over the top.
Always a fine line.
And the source includes that fun little mystery. How do they get those reindeer up there? Is it a crane? Or maybe Santa?
Oh, keeping the magic alive.
Then there's that amazing smell of roasting chestnuts,
Yeah.
described as warm and nutty. And there's a plan to go try some at the Christmas market.
That smell is so evocative. And this whole bit, it just captures the sensory richness of the holidays, doesn't it?
Really does.
The visual stuff, the lights, the reindeer, combined with those distinct smells, like the chestnuts. It all works together to create this unique atmosphere that's really deeply embedded in our cultural experience of the season. It makes powerful memories.
And sometimes winter brings a different kind of feeling too, a quieter one. Our sources talk about the soft snow falling, making everything look peaceful, the quiet streets, that feeling that maybe the world slows down a bit.
Yeah, that hushed feeling after snowfall.
Someone says they love winter because everything feels calm and cozy.
And that speaks to the psychological comfort that many people find in seasonal shifts, especially winter. For some, it really is a time for introspection, for quiet connection, maybe feeling more grounded.
Right.
That idea of the world slowing down, it often mirrors a shift in our own internal rhythm, too. It's like an invitation to rest and reflect, even amid all the holiday busyness.
Of course, before the calm, there's often the preparation. Holiday shopping features too. Someone needs a new coat, so it's off to the mall to find one that's both warm and cool.
The eternal quest for the perfect winter coat.
And then there's the big shopping list. Not just gifts like gloves for everyone and scarves, but also decorations and essential winter food supplies. Like hot chocolate, marshmallows, stuff for soup, snacks for movie nights. Very important. And there's a definite focus on getting good deals. Holiday discounts, buy one, get one free. Plus, being mindful to bring reusable shopping bags.
See, and that blend of practicality, getting gloves, finding discounts, and the excitement of buying festive things, it shows how we actively construct the holiday feeling.
Yeah, it's not just passive.
Not at all. The act of planning, of shopping, seeking out deals, stocking up on comfort food, even the reusable bags. These tasks themselves become part of the ritual. They build anticipation and contribute to that whole shared experience of the season.
And finally, maybe the most beloved tradition for many families, decorating the Christmas tree.
Ah, yes.
The main event.
Getting the big red box from the attic. That's always a moment. And the classic debate, should the theme be red and gold this year? Or maybe blue and silver for more of a winter wonderland feel?
Decision. And it's all about teamwork, isn't it? Untangling the lights, which is always like a puzzle. Carefully unwrapping ornaments, maybe finding the one we made together last year and giving it a special spot.
Mm-hmm. Those ornaments hold stories.
Right. And remembering the proper order.
Right.
Lights go on first, then the tinsel. Very important rules.
Absolutely crucial. And this whole scene, it just perfectly highlights the collaborative joy, the shared story that's wrapped up in traditions like this.
Yeah.
These rituals, they do more than just mark the season. They create this powerful sense of continuity, of belonging. They strengthen family bonds in a really significant way. The little negotiations, the shared problem solving with the lights, remembering past years through ornaments, every step is like weaving the family story together again.
Wow. What an incredible journey. Just by listening closely to everyday conversations, it really does show how much insight, how much richness is packed into these seemingly simple exchanges. These deep dives, they really uncover those universal threads of human connection, but also those surprising cultural specifics that, quietly shape our lives every single day.
It truly does. And it just underscores, I think, the huge value in really paying attention to the small stuff, the details and how we talk, how we act. They so often illuminate much bigger truth about our society, our culture, and just, human nature.
Yeah.
Hopefully this encourages you, the listener, to maybe notice the richness that's happening in your own daily interactions, too.
So here's a thought to leave you with. The next time you find yourself splitting a restaurant bill, or maybe untangling some holiday lights, or even just asking someone if you can borrow a phone charger, just pause for a second. What deeper connections, what cultural echoes might you be overlooking in that very ordinary moment?